Hello, my name is Sean Copeland. I am Chairman and CEO of Regent Bank, and welcome to another edition of Regent Elevate. Today we are continuing our series on leaving a legacy. And just as a quick reminder, I believe that we all leave our legacy one day at a time, whether we like it or not. And I became very fascinated with this concept, and so over the last few years I have interviewed 93 individuals who I believe live very significant, abundant lives and are truly leaving a legacy right now. And what I found out as I interviewed these individuals is that all of them had 5 things in common. And so today I want to share with you the first of these 5 keys to leaving a great legacy, if you will. And I'd like to share it with you in terms of a story. Harvey Mackay is a very famous author, speaker, and he tells an amazing story. He shared it with me one time that I think you will enjoy, and it's about a cab driver. He was flying into Newark, New Jersey for a business meeting, and he arrived on his plane, and much like here in Tulsa or in Oklahoma City, went through baggage claim, got his luggage, and walked out through the large doors, and there were all of these cabs lined up and down the street. He needed to choose a cab, and he was drawn to the one on the far right-hand side because it was very clean, and the driver was actually standing outside of the cab and looked very nice. White press shirt, black slacks, shiny black shoes, and so he walked up to this particular cab. The driver reached out his hand and said, "Hello, my name is Wally. Will you be traveling with me today?" And he said, "Well, yes, I will." And Wally handed Harvey a laminated mission statement. And on this mission statement it said, "My mission is to provide you with the best transportation experience in the state of New Jersey at the most reasonable cost." So he thought, well, that's interesting. I've never had a mission statement from a cab driver before. And so he got into the cab, put his bags in the back and got into the cab. Wally then said, "Mr. Harvey, before we take off, do you mind if I ask what time your meeting is?" And he said, "It's at 11 o'clock. Harvey said, "No problem. It's 9:30 right now. We have plenty of time. It's about a 30-minute drive. Can I ask you 3 quick questions?" And he had never been interrogated by a cab driver before, but he said, "Sure." And so Wally said, first of all, he said, "I have a selection here of beverages for your drinking pleasure. I've got water, I've got tea, I've got coffee, Diet Coke. Would you like something to drink on the way to your meeting?" And Harvey said, "That's very nice. Absolutely. I would love to have a bottled water." So Wally reached down, grabbed the bottled water, handed it back, and said, "Here you go. Ice cold, always ice cold." He said, "Second of all, I have a selection of reading materials here for you." He said, "I have Sports Illustrated, I have USA Today, I have Wall Street Journal. Would you like something to read on the way to your meeting, or should I just leave you to your thoughts?" And Harvey said, "Well, sure." He said, I would love something to read. I had to leave early. I didn't get the Wall Street Journal." He said, "Could you hand me back the Wall Street Journal?" So he said, "Sure." Reached down, handed it back, and said, "Here you go. Current day's edition, always current day's edition." Now, this was before the days of Kindle and our iPhones and all that jazz. Finally, he said, "I also have a musical selection here for your enjoyment." He said, "I have all kinds of music. I have classical, jazz, country, etc. Would you like some music on the way to your trip?" And he said, "Of course, why not finish the experience, right? Let's complete the experience." So he said, "Could we listen to some classical music?" So Wally turns on beautiful classical music and they take off. And Harvey is enjoying his trip. He's got his ice cold water, his current day's edition of the Wall Street Journal, the classical music is flowing over him, life is really good. And it occurs to him that in all his years of riding in thousands of cabs, he's never had an experience like this. So he says, "Wally, I don't want to be rude," but he said, "Can you tell me where you got this process? This is just amazing." Wally said, "Absolutely. I have been a cab driver for about 15 years. My father was a cab driver. I fell into his footsteps, and he said, for many years I absolutely hated it. He said, people did not treat me well, I was invisible, they talked down to me, I tried every way in the world to get out of driving a cab. And he said, I couldn't get into college, nobody would hire me, and so I was really stuck here. And one day he had a passenger that was paraplegic, and the gentleman was helped into and out of his car. And in that 30-minute drive, when they were together, this gentleman changed Wally's life. He said, it occurred to me that if this individual could be so happy and so full of life and making such a difference, why couldn't I? So he said, one morning when I got up, I decided that if I was going to be a cab driver, I was going to become the best cab driver in the world. And in fact, I was going to own the largest transportation company in this state. And he said, I dressed nicer and I began to ask my clients what they looked for in a perfect cab ride. And some of them preferred something to drink, some preferred music, some preferred something to read, some wanted to be completely left alone. And what happened is he became very popular. People really liked this new offering and this new process, and so they began to request him, and he became full. He couldn't take on any more passengers. And so he made $137,000 this year compared to $32,000 the year before he created this process. So he saved some money, bought another car, hired another driver, taught him the process. They got full. Did this with another driver, another driver. Today they have over 30 cars and are among the largest and may be the largest in the state. In fact, this is really funny. I do quite a bit of public speaking, and about a year ago, I was down at the University of Texas speaking to their MBA program, and Wally was actually on the speaking circuit. So he's so popular now, I had to change my entire speech because of that. But I share this story with you because I think it explains our first key point very well, and that is that Wally's life changed when he developed a clear vision of who he wanted to be. And when I talked to these 93 individuals, what I learned was they all had a very clear vision of what they wanted their life to be, or what they felt like God wanted their life to be in many instances. Let me give you one more quick example. Gene Grayson was a gentleman who was the hired hand on my family's ranch growing up. He would help us with chores and gathering cattle and that type of thing. He had retired from a job at One Oak, or ONG I think it was back then, where he was a meter reader. I don't think he ever made over $40,000 a year, but his vision was to be the best father and grandfather that he could be. He lived just down the street from us, and I can tell you he achieved that vision. His family is amazing. His kids all went to college. His grandkids have all gone to college. Remarkable man who left a remarkable legacy. So point one that I want to leave you with today is the first key to leaving a great legacy is to develop a very clear vision of who we want to be and move toward that vision, live toward that vision each and every day. Next week we're going to talk about key number 2, which is focusing more on others than ourselves, and I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.